Leviticus chapter 18 verse 22. But you better check it. We not stop reiterating the truth, you know. One woman to one man to the ordinance of marriage. Anything else is cursed. Virgin and answer. No effeminate guy can enter the kingdom of God and of Christ. You better straighten up, you know. Watch what me share say. We not talk that first. God talk that talk, you know. Priest, truth talk. Sodom and Gomorrah, me warn ya. Inna them thing me na mix up no blender. Sodom and Gomorrah, me warn ya. Every human should know what is them gender.
I just want to say that I am a Christian and I believe in equal rights for all people. As all people were created equal, I am no better than you. You are no better than me. I don't think it's good to judge others. And as a Christian, I believe that as judging other people, we will be judged ourselves. Now, every single person on this face of the earth has flaws and makes mistakes and whatever have you. And by our mistakes, we are meant to learn by them and to grow and mature. And that's what I think life is all about, is growing and maturing and have the same rights as people who are straight. That's fine and dandy. If you want to have the same benefits that a straight person has in marriage, by law, have all the things that a married person has. People, I don't know so much about the United States, but I live in Canada, and you can basically have the same rights as someone who is married if you live together as common law for, I don't know the length or period of time, but a lot of people these days who don't believe in marriage live together, and they have the same exact rights as a couple who is married. Where I do have a little problem is the pride parades. Now that same-sex marriage is legalized, do you feel that the pride parades are still necessary? I think personally that they are immoral and disgusting. I think that a lot of the times they involve children, which I don't think is right. They involve a lot of sexual acts. Some places get away with nudity and lewd and crude sexual acts being mimicked in front of children, and I think that is wrong and disgusting myself. I don't think that this needs to be shown in front of other people. Now, before you come down on me and say I'm homophobic and I'm hating on the LGBT community, straight people are just as bad. And if you look at media in general, the things nowadays that are being glamorized sexually, like 50 Shades of Grey, it's showing that sexual dominance towards women is being glorified to be this mysterious new age way of life, and that all these what used to be sexual immoral acts are becoming the new popular thing and the norm of today. In the past 10-15 years, things in popular culture have become very, very demoralized. I remember there being warnings on the Christina Aguilera video Dirty, saying that it had sexual content in it, and she was just dancing around in a bikini. And nowadays, that seems very, very tame. And that was 10, 15 years ago, not even that long ago. And now you see stuff that Lady Gaga does, and Miley Cyrus, and Katy Perry, uh, glamorizing girls to experiment. I kissed a girl and I liked it. These are things that we're teaching our kids today. And when I was a kid, I remember a little rhyme that people used to say, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes so-and-so, whatever their name may be, with a baby carriage. And that was the standard for family and life not even that long ago. But now kids today, as young as 16 and younger, are having kids themselves. And it seems like there's no moral system to family anymore. Getting married doesn't mean anything anymore. People nowadays live together, and whether they want a family or not, are having kids out of marriage. And that's another thing that's being glamorized today, is teen pregnancy. They have TV shows like 16 and Pregnant, and these are the types of things that we're feeding people in the media and movies and television and all kinds of things. We're saying it's normal and it's perfectly acceptable. And it just seems like there's no value to marriage anymore. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a word. And so we can throw it around and use it for anybody and whomever we like. And I don't believe in that, because I believe that the word marriage has been perverted, just the way that the word gay has been perverted. If you think of the Flintstones theme song, at the end of the theme song, they sing, have a yabba dabba do time, a dabba do time, let's have a gay old time. I don't think that Fred and Barney were having a secret affair. Gay used to mean happy. To be gay was to be happy. And that itself has been perverted. And now the rainbow, think of a rainbow as a bow and arrow, an actual bow, a rainbow. It's shaped like this in an arc. And if this was a bow, where would the arrow go? The arrow would be in the middle of the rainbow. The arrow would be pointing up. If it was an actual bow and you're pulling back the arrow, where would it shoot? It would shoot up towards heaven, towards God. And the rainbow was meant to be a symbol that God wouldn't pour any judgment out on his people again in the Old Testament after the flood in Noah. And the homosexuals have taken the rainbow, something that's supposed to be beautiful and be a sign of peace from God, and they've perverted it into their flag for the pride of homosexuality. You look at the rainbow and the gay flag, then the colors are going this way, and it's spreading out. It's right and left, and not up, but right and left across the land, across this earth. And what did Satan say to Christ when he was in the wilderness? He said, if you bow down and worship me, then I will give you everything in the land as far as the eye can see, right to left. And that's exactly what Satan's doing with the gay rainbow. For World War II, or during World War I and II. Before that, you barely ever hear about divorce. Divorce was a very uncommon thing, and if there was someone who was divorced, then it would be a very, very shameful thing to your family and for other people to know about. They would keep it hush-hush, and so during the war, if a man was overseas, he might get into trouble and have an affair with someone that he was with during the war. A woman's left at home, and all the men were off to war, commit adultery, or feel like they need to experiment sexually. And this is not a good thing, because family is supposed to be together. For thousands of years, marriage meant family. Meant a man and a woman coming together to have children, to have a family and keep a family. And nowadays, so many people are divorced and don't care about marriage, or if any little fault comes up in their marriage, they're so quick to divorce and not try and work things out that it just seems like marriage has no quality left to it at all. They say, oh, well, homosexual people, they can adopt, and there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that I do personally believe, and statistics and studies have proven this and shown, that a child needs a mother and a father. They need a male and a female role in their life growing up to develop properly. Now, a child that only grows up with a mom, or only grows up with a dad, and never had the influence of both a male and a female figure in their life, are more prone to do drugs, more prone to be alcoholics, more prone to get into trouble as a teenager, get into all kinds of illegal activities, going to prison, all this kind of stuff. Just in general, be a rebel. This in just because you need that role in your life. Kids these days don't have that. They are being raised by TVs and 10-year-old kids with cell phones, and it's just sad. I remember being a kid, going outside and playing and riding my bike at 10 years old. Now there's 10-year-old kids taking sexually suggestive pictures on their cell phones and getting in trouble for it, but for trading nude pictures of themselves in their classrooms with their other friends. This is disgusting, and this is how the world's going these days. And that's how the devil is getting at everybody, is through family. And now that gay marriage is legalized, the family bond through marriage has been destroyed. Everything these days has to be so politically correct that you're not even allowed to have any opinion. Opinion is not hate. Straight people just have as much temptation as gay people when it comes to sexual immoral thoughts, sexual immoral things going around. Every single person is tempted, but the difference between a Christian and a homosexual is that they seem to be more promiscuous, and a Christian will try and stop those thoughts and stop those actions before they happen. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It's just that we have a choice not to sin. through Christ, we are dead to sin. Our sin died on the cross with Jesus Christ when he died for our sins. So we have the choice not to sin. When you engulf in something that you're lusting after, you're committing that sin. And that sin isn't just around for homosexuals, it's around for straight people too. Straight people commit adultery. We're just as bad and just as guilty as homosexuals. So I'm not judging a homosexual because the same thing happens to everybody else. It's just that we have a choice not to sin. We can be dead to sin and choose not to reap the consequences of bad actions. And you're saying, oh, well, if it doesn't hurt anybody, love is love, I can do whatever I want. Well, let's get away from the religious aspect for a moment. Let's think about it scientifically and by nature. By nature, God created a male and a female to reproduce. And by nature, that's how it works. A male and a female come together, have children, and that's how things work. A man and a man can't have a child. A woman and a woman can't have a child. So that it's science, nature, and logic. It's not even religion right there. So if you say a gay person, it's not making a choice. A gay person's not making a choice at all. They're born that way. It was not a choice. Well, that's also false. Because if every single person on this face of the earth was born homosexual, then life would cease to exist. There'd be no such thing as life, as there'd be no more procreation. Well, then I ask you, is people being born gay nature's art of controlling the human population? That can't be right either. And you might say, oh, well, animals have been shown to be engaged in homosexual acts. Well, not in the wild. In the wild, animals, you'll see them with families. You'll see them in herds of other animals. When animals are captured in captivity, they often show off or don't have a mate around, so they act out in aggression or frustration because they are being sexually deprived. Now, who's to say morally what will be the next thing that's legalized? The next thing coming I can see is polygamy. Now, that's being glamorized in the media with the TLC show, Sister Wives, a man living with multiple wives, and this is in multiple religions itself. So who's to say that that's not going to be in the next thing to become legal is polygamy, and the cost of living may go up and the cost of everything else. So who's to say that people will argue that they have to live with multiple partners to be able to afford taking care of themselves? So polygamy could be the next thing legalized. And then after that, incest, bestiality, even pedophilia. And that's what a lot of homosexuals have been trying to do recently and in the recent past, because they feel that, okay, well, it's not a choice. Whoever we're sexually attracted to, that's how we're born, and it's programmed into us who we find sexually attractive. And that's false, because we can all be tempted by sin. That's where temptation comes into. But as a Christian, we can say no to that temptation because we know that it leads to negative consequences. It's just like a seed. If you plant a seed among weeds, then weeds are going to choke out that plant and the plant's going to die. And if you plant a seed in good soil and you water it and let it get sunlight, then it will grow and it will produce good fruit. The same thing in life in general. Marriage between a man and woman produce fruit like a plant, producing fruit but producing children. And that's what marriage was originally intended for. But what about people, you say, who can't have children? Well, are they living purposeless lives? No, of course not. They can adopt too, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging them either. But I do believe that the word marriage, if homosexuals want to have the same rights as straight people, fine and dandy, but they should have came up with their own word for their own union. And forcing Christians to marry or take part in something that they don't believe in is exactly like forcing a vegetarian a pork chop. Forcing a pork chop down the throat of a vegetarian. That's what you're doing when you're forcing a Christian to marry a gay couple, when you're forcing a Christian to take part in a gay wedding by making a cake for them. They're going against their convictions. They're going against their freedom of religion, and suing people for not taking part in something. Doesn't that seem a little ridiculous? If you want something done, then take part in your own community. Take part with people who have the same interests of you. Don't force other people to take part in something they don't believe in. That's where freedom is lost. And so that's why I think that this whole pride thing needs to stop. You don't see black people nowadays, a million black people marching on Selma. Black people have rights. They won it back in 1965. U.S. has a black president, Barack Obama, and racism is in the world today, and it's not going away, but we can fight it, and we can choose not to take part in racism the same way that we can choose not to hate each other, and we shouldn't. But we shouldn't take away other people's liberties as well, and their freedoms while you're fighting for your own. I just want to read the definition of perversion. Perversion is the alteration of something from its original course, meaning, or state to a distortion or corruption of what was first intended. And that is what the LGBT community has done with the word gay, the rainbow, and the word marriage. They couldn't make up anything for themselves. They had to steal from something that's been around for thousands of years. And that's where I draw the line, and that's what I have a problem with. And I think what goes on at pride parades should be kept in the bedroom. It's the truth that is an offense, and not a sin. With truth, we get drawn to conviction. Now, truth is not judgmental in any way. Truth should be looked at as shining the light on something and getting you to see clearly what is there and convict you to make the right decision and the right choice. Every single person on the face of the earth is given freedom and free choice, but you know, there are consequences to everything, and we need to make the right choices. And all I'm saying is that both sides have been making a lot of bad choices, and those things need to be looked at. There's no such thing as a gay gene either. You can have two sets of twins, both with the exact identical gene makeup, both male or both female, and they could live separate from each other if adopted at birth. And one can be straight and one can be gay. So both of them are not going to be straight or gay. So there's no such thing as a gay gene either. Being gay just doesn't make sense in general. If you are a man and you're sexually attracted to another man and you want to attract another gay man, then why would you act like a woman then? Why would you speak like a woman, dress like a woman, talk like a woman, and be effeminate? And that makes zero sense. If you're attracted to a man and you want to attract another homosexual man, then why would you act like a woman? Same thing goes for lesbians. If you want to attract another female, then why would you act all butch and male then? See, that's the perversion, or the flip of it, the change, to change something of its origin into something completely different than what it was originally meant to be. There's absolutely nothing wrong for a man to be in touch with his feelings and be sensitive and be a gentleman. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with a girl being a tomboy and liking sports and liking stuff that are generally made for men. But a man and a woman both have separate roles in life. It doesn't mean that a girl can't do something that a guy can't do, but we're genetically made up differently.